Okay, well, let's get started now. It's a few minutes past the time. I hope everyone can hear me. If you have issues hearing or with any technical issues, please send us an email or write in the chat window. All right, so a warm welcome to all the attendees. My name is Tomo Hamakawa, and I'm a project manager at Kopernik, and we'll be moderating the webinar today. I'd like to welcome you all to the first webinar of this Impact Tracker Tech webinar series. We have participants from around the world, and we're very excited to see this level of interest in this work. So before we get started, I want to point out a couple of features on your screen so you can better participate in this webinar. So the first button that you see is a chat function. So if you have any technical issues, please raise them in this chat feature. Second button is the question button. And if you have any questions to any of the speakers, please write in this window. And feel free to write your question at any time during the webinar. It doesn't have to be during the Q&A session. It's actually better if you send them in earlier so we can address them during the session. There's also this raise your hand button, but please ignore that for today. So today's webinar is split up into several sections. First is a brief introduction to Impact Tracker Tech by myself, which will be followed by a presentation by Jesse, who is the founder of Teller Ovit. We'll have a short Q&A regarding Teller Ovit, and then we'll move on to a presentation by our colleague Tika, who will explain about Kopernik's experience using Teller Ovit in our work. And we'll have another short Q&A, and then we'll close. I don't expect this to be a very long webinar. We'll try to keep it short and sweet, anytime between 30 to 40 minutes. So first, introduction to Impact Tracker technologies. But before we get started on the Impact Tracker tech, I'd like to quickly explain about our organization, Kopernik. Kopernik's mission is to connect simple technology with last-mile communities to reduce poverty. And by technology, we mean products like water filters, solar lanterns, clean cook stoves, drip irrigation, and solar-powered hearing aids, so on and so forth. And the organization was started by Toshi Nakamura and Eva Wojkowska 4 years ago. And to date, we've implemented projects in 20 countries and have come up to about 120 projects. And through these projects, we've distributed over 40,000 units of products, reaching 215,000 people. Our geographical focus has mainly been in Southeast Asia, as you can see on the map on the lower left. So that's the distribution of simple life-changing technology is our main model, but on the side, we also engage in research projects and consultancy assignments. And this Impact Tracker Tech research is a perfect example of this other work that we do. So the key question that drove this research is, what if nonprofits and social enterprises were able to report real-time, large-scale data on their social impact in an affordable way? And the key terms here are real-time, large-scale, and affordable. And as you know, nonprofits and social enterprises are under pressure to perform, to measure their performance and to evaluate their impact. And at the same time, there are many tools out there to help them do that. And so this catalog bridges that gap between the demand from the organizations and the supply by the developers of these tools. This research is fully supported by the Impact Economy Innovations Fund in East and Southeast Asia, which is funded by the Rockefeller Foundation, and the Asia Community Ventures. And it's a one-year research that started last November and ends this month. As we hope many of you had a chance to look at the ITT website. As you see on this screen, there are 4 categories of tools: digital data collection apps, SMS communication platforms, geospatial mapping tools, and remote sensors. And in total, we showcase 39 tools in pretty detail. And then we also have additional links to 12 tools. So this catalog has over 50 tools that organizations can use to collect data, communicate with clients, and to measure impact. And today we're focusing on the SMS communication platforms category. So what's this category all about? These are tools to allow organizations to communicate large-scale, real-time basis with clients and beneficiaries through SMS. And by using these tools, organizations can reduce the number of phone calls and physical visits to project sites. And a lot of these tools are cloud-based and also accessible from web browsers and mobile apps. So with that, I want to turn it to Jesse, who is the founder of Teller Ovit. And Teller Ovit is one of our top recommendations in this category of tools. And I'd like to particularly thank Jesse for joining us at 12 o'clock midnight Bay Area time. Yeah, we're very excited to have him explain about Teller Ovit. So over to you, Jesse.
All right, thanks, Tomo, for the introduction, and thanks everyone at Kopernik for this putting this great research together and for including Teller Ovit in it. So I am one of the co-founders of Teller Ovit. I'm also the chief technology officer there. We started Teller Ovit almost 3 years ago now, and we can go into the next slide.
Okay.
Basically, what we are is a easy-to-use, cloud-based mobile messaging platform that organizations, including NGOs as well as businesses, can use anywhere in the world. And our website's tellerovit.com, so feel free to also check that out and follow along there. So with Teller Ovit, what organizations can do is basically send and receive SMS in any country in the world using a local phone number. And since SMS works on basically any mobile phone, you can communicate with any mobile phone user, even people who don't have internet access or smartphones. And you can easily build custom automated services on top of SMS. So that's like polls and surveys to collect data, auto replies, integrations with your own databases and systems. And you can also very easily send and view messages and manage your communications from any web browser. Next slide. So just to give you an idea of what that means, I have a few screenshots of our product. So this is the the online dashboard that lets you manage your communications. Next. So you can send SMS messages from any web browser to either individual mobile phone users or groups of people that you might create, such as employees, customers, beneficiaries. And you can also schedule messages at particular times. So from your web browser, you can view all the messages that you've sent and received, and we automatically group them in conversations here. Next. You can create automated services. So in this screenshot, I have a poll on a scale of 1 to 5. How would you rate our service? So you can poll all sorts of different things. This is just a single question, but you can also create multiple question surveys. And you can create other types of automated services as well, auto replies, webhooks that connect to your own databases. We also have a very easy way in your browser to manage the contacts, all of the people that you want to communicate with. So you can add contact information such as name, name of the people you're communicating with, as well as any custom information. And here in this screenshot, I have city, but you can keep track of any information you want to, and you can organize contacts in one or more groups as well. Here I have customers, employees, and subscribers. So Teller Ovit's a very flexible platform that can be adapted to a lot of different use cases, and there are a lot of different types of organizations that use Teller Ovit around the world, including social enterprises like Kiva, Inventure, MyAgro, and Zadisha, global NGOs like Japaigo, Farm Radio International, and Kopernik, and businesses from small to large. Yeah. So example use cases for Teller Ovit could be public health education campaigns, polling and collecting data from remote populations, interacting with radio listeners and gathering feedback in real time. Businesses can track mobile money payments from their customers. Health clinics can send reminders to patients. E-commerce websites can send order notifications to buyers and sellers. And you can also use Teller Ovit for customer support, election monitoring, and communicating with remote staff. So you can really adapt Teller Ovit to whatever type of messaging program you want to do. We've designed Teller Ovit to be really easy to use and affordable for even small organizations. So anyone can actually just go to tellerovit.com and sign up to use it. We have a free service that lets people use Teller Ovit if they're under 100 SMS messages per day and 100 contacts. It's completely free. And for active deployments, it's only $30 a month for up to 5,000 messages per day. And basically, this lets organizations easily implement your own custom messaging programs without needing to pay potentially thousands of dollars for things like short code integrations with mobile networks, or hiring consultancies and programmers to build something. So even non-technical users can just in their web browser point and click and set up their own mobile messaging service. So just a very brief introduction to how the technology works. There are two main components of the technology. One is the cloud-based web platform, which you've already seen the screenshots of. And then the second half is the local SMS gateway. So the cloud web platform, the next slide, basically lets you send and receive SMS, manage your contacts, create automated services from any web browser. But then the other part of the technology is the local SMS gateway. On the next slide. So what this means is your organization has your own phone number, so it's not shared with other organizations. You don't need to use like a particular keyword in your messages. It's a local phone number in your own country, so you can avoid international SMS messages. And it also supports two-way messaging, so both sending and receiving. And Teller Ovit supports multiple options depending on your situation. For most organizations that use Teller Ovit use an Android phone to send and receive messages, which works anywhere in the world, and it's relatively affordable. Some countries have virtual phone numbers, including US and much of North America and Western Europe. So you can use providers like Twilio and Nexmo to send messages. And then you can also bring your own shortcodes. If you have a relationship with the mobile network, you can connect your own shortcode to Teller Ovit. So most people using Teller Ovit use the Android gateway. And so the way that works is your organization has a single Android phone. And on that Android phone, you'll install the Teller Ovit app. And what that does is forwards SMS messages between Teller Ovit servers and the mobile networks. So when somebody sends an SMS message to you, the Teller Ovit Android app will forward that message on to Teller Ovit's cloud-based service, and vice versa. And so basically, you have one Android phone for your organization and keep it probably in an office somewhere, topped up with credit to send messages, and then just it sort of acts like a messaging server for your organization almost. And we also have tools in our cloud-based platform to let you view the status of your Android phone. So basically, you need your phone will need to maintain a connection to the internet in order to send and receive or to forward messages. So if the internet connection is broken, then messages will be delayed in forwarding. So that's something to keep in mind when you're deploying an Android phone. We suggest keeping it stationary and having both Wi-Fi and mobile data for best reliability. So that's basically the 5-minute intro to what Teller Ovit does, and you can feel free to check it out at tellerovit.com. And I guess now I'll open it up for your questions.
Great, thank you, Jesse. We have a few questions, so we'll try to cover as many of them as possible. So first question is more of a general question about this industry. Yeah. What are some of the key sort of emerging trends in this sort of SMS / communication world, and where do you think this this industry is heading towards?
Yeah, there are a lot of interesting trends. One of the big trends is the emergence of internet-based messaging apps like WhatsApp is among the most popular of those. Mm-hmm. And so far, there aren't really any great tools for organizations to take advantage of those kind of communication apps, which are, for the moment, just designed for individual person-to-person communication. And for the most part, they don't have the platforms that would allow organizations to take advantage of them on a one-to-many scale, and that might be prompted by concerns of being taken over by spam, but it'd be it's potentially really interesting if platforms like that become open in the next couple of years for non-spammy organizations to use to communicate with people, because in many cases it's less expensive to communicate with people over something like WhatsApp versus SMS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that cost issue came up in a different question. SMS still can be costly for organizations as well as people responding to the surveys. And then you have tools like WhatsApp and other tools that are basically free. And if these free tools can be developed to cater to these needs, then I think it will be a very sort of dynamic and exciting future.
Yeah, definitely, and it's something that the Teller Ovit is looking into.
Right.
Basically, the platforms like WhatsApp don't currently encourage, or they actively discourage being used in this way.
Right. Cool. We have another question, another good question.
Yeah.
It says, how does Teller Ovit integrate with mobile money?
So basically the way it works is almost every mobile money system that we're familiar with, after any transaction, they'll send an SMS confirmation message to both the sender and the receiver of the money. And that SMS is just sort of unstructured text, but often contains a lot of useful information, like the transaction ID, the amount of the transaction, what type of transaction it is. So for any mobile money system, those SMS confirmations will be forwarded to Teller Ovit servers, and so you can easily track them. Okay. Teller Ovit also has support for a few mobile money systems in particular, M-Pesa in Kenya and Tanzania, and M-Pesa in Tanzania, where we'll automatically parse the content of messages, of the SMS receipts. We'll parse out the transaction ID and the amount and the type and the other person in the transaction. And so it makes it easier to manage receipts. So we can't actually initiate transactions in Teller Ovit, but we can track.
We can track, okay. Yeah, and then given the spread of M-Pesa in East Africa, it does seem to be a very important sort of coordination between a tool like Teller Ovit and mobile money. There's one question that's not specifically about Teller Ovit, but actually the catalog overall, and I'll respond to this question. The question is this catalog a living document? Will it be updated with more resources in the near future? That's a very good question. So as I said earlier, there are about 51 tools included in this catalog, and we definitely intend to update the information as much as possible. This is a very fast-moving space, not only in terms of SMS platforms, but also in sensors, digital data collection apps, and geospatial mapping tools. And each tool also introduces additional features almost on a monthly basis, or at least in a very frequent manner. And so we want to capture that to the extent possible. So the short answer is yes, definitely. Okay, so with that, let's move on to the next part of the webinar, and we can still address any questions about Teller Ovit or the catalog overall in the Q&A session later. But thank you, Jesse, for now.
Thanks.
Okay, so the next section is a brief presentation by Tika about her experience using Kopernik in our project. So over to you, Tika.
Yes, hi Tomo. Hi everyone. My name is Kamarlangan, and I am the School Partnerships Officer for Kopernik. And today I'm going to share you my experience in using Teller Ovit in one of our projects. Yes, next slide, please.
Yep.
Yeah. So this project is called Drink Up Indonesia. So the background of this project is there are many students in rural areas of Indonesia that likes to clean drinking water. Some of the water sources in the area are contaminated with dangerous microbacteria, zinc, and other minerals, but the students to drink it directly without boiling it first because they have no choice. Mineral bottle is not affordable by them, so they choose not to buy it and drink unsafe drinking water instead. In fact, most of schools in the rural areas don't have canteen, and the distance between school and their homes is too far, so when they drink water from safe water source. And well, of course, some of them stomachache after drinking that water, and the consequence is they lost their concentration while studying, and some of them have to skip school. So that's why we came up with the project Drink Up Indonesia. So in this project, we connect 800 water filters that can filter water from tap, well, river, lake, rain, or any source fresh water to clean drinking water without boiling it. These water filters go to 60 primary schools in 8 different rural locations in Indonesia, reaching 16,000 people, including students, teachers, and school staffs. So in this project, I visited each and every school. I taught the students and the teacher on how to assemble, clean, and maintain water filters. I also conducted a clean water campaign to promote the importance of drinking water, including the filtered clean water. Yes, next slide, please. After we finish distribution, we need to monitor and evaluate the impact of this project, like how many glasses of water that the students drink after receiving the water filters. And then there's the number of stomachache cases decreased after they drink from the water filter. However, how would Kopernik, that based in Bali, measure impact of the project in schools that spread across Indonesia, from Papua in the east, and Sumatra in the west, and 6 more islands, and without spending too much resources at a time? Like, how do we make sure that schools actually use this technology? Next slide. So I went to our monitoring and evaluation team and discussed with them, and they suggested me to use Teller Ovit, SMS communication platform that allows me to monitor and evaluate the project's impact without visiting the project location. We use Teller Ovit to send reminders, and to assess the community demands. By using, we are able to get more communication with our partner schools, even when we lessen the number of physical visits to project location. Like first, we send reminders on the importance of drinking clean water for children. For example, we send a text message like, drinking clean water can boost your concentration in the classroom. Drinking clean water is good for your heart, etc., etc. We also send them a text message on how to assemble, maintain, and clean the technology. Because I only visited the school approximately only an hour in each school, so there's a possibility they would forget it after a month. So we send them the reminder. And the interesting part is when I visited Nusa Tenggara in Indonesia, I met a principal and he said that it's happy to receive an SMS from us using Teller Ovit because that text SMS made them feel cared because that you're not only giving us something, but you also reminding us on how to use and clear the water filter as well. Yes. Next slide, please. Second, we also use Teller Ovit to conduct survey. Questions like, do you use filters? Now, as you can see in the every time I send survey to partner school, Teller Ovit will automatically convert the response into graphics. So this feature allows us to collect and analyze the responses efficiently. And also, because this is text messaging and people in the last mile are very familiar with text message, we are able to have two-way communication with the text user. So we send them SMS, and they can and then send us SMS back. And it's like, thank you for sending us the orders. Thank you for sending us these reminders, something like that. And last, we also use Teller Ovit to assess community demands. Now you can see in the slide, we thank to the principal for the response on our survey, and then we ask them if they knew somebody, a teacher, parent, or even himself in the community interested to buy the water filter. Surprisingly, 74.1% of respondents answer yes. I can see in the orange book below the question box. We then connect them with our colleague who will then help connecting the water filters to the initial buyer. Okay, that's it from me.
Okay, thank you very much, Tika. It's very interesting. One question that has come up is just about sort of the challenges, issues that you faced when you first started using Teller Ovit. Did you encounter any problems?
Not that much, because Teller Ovit's interface is really easy to understand. I had no significance when I first using it. It took me half to an hour to figure out how to use the basic features. So.
Right. Okay. So it sounded like it was pretty straightforward for you.
Yeah.
Okay, great. We actually have one question for Jesse. Could we unmute him so that he can speak? Okay, great. Oh, wait. Okay, so the question is about the Teller Ovit pricing.
Yeah.
Are the prices subsidized by a funder, or is Teller Ovit self-supported with this pricing model?
The prices are not subsidized. We're a for-profit company based in the U.S., and we have some investor capital, but basically we're self-supported with the pricing.
Great. And I guess another follow-up question is, how is your customer base expanding? Is it since launch? How many have you reached, and what are some of your targets in mind?
We've reached organizations in about 150 different countries.
Wow.
And there are new organizations joining us every day. The average, the organizations that use Teller Ovit, some of them are doing small scale projects. Some have sent up to actually some over 1 million messages each.
Wow.
To the largest organizations using Teller Ovit have about 100 to 300,000 contacts.
Wow, great. Another question for Jesse.
Yeah.
When responding to surveys, do people have to have a smartphone to respond?
No. Even when you're using the Android app as the SMS gateway, you can communicate with people using any type of mobile phone, since it's just SMS. So they don't need to have a smartphone or internet access.
Right. Great. Next question is actually both for Jesse and Tika, and it's about the response rates to surveys, and this can be an issue when conducting surveys, especially when there is a cost associated with responding, I think. So maybe first, Tika, can you explain sort of the response rate when you send out surveys? And Jesse, sort of, do you provide any sort of tips or suggestions to organizations on how to improve response rates? So maybe first, Tika.
Yeah, well, at first I was worried that the SMS response rate might be low because the recipients might think that it's wrong. But since we can customize each message for each recipient, we have encountered that issue very well. And we receive approximately 50%.
Okay, that's actually not bad at all for for SMS survey. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and
Great.
most important, we didn't provide any incentives for people to respond to our message.
Okay, so without any incentive, 50%. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Jesse, do you have any suggestions for organizations to get the response rates up?
Yeah, personalizing the messages is a great way to do that. Another technique that that organizations have seen a lot of success with is using missed calls to collect responses from surveys. So typically, calling a phone number and hanging up is completely free for whoever does that. The term often used is flashing or beeping. And so what you can do is get multiple phone numbers, multiple Android phones, and associate each phone with a response in your poll. Like yes, one phone, calling one phone signifies yes, and calling another phone signifies no. And so organizations can often get better response rates by encouraging people to flash or beep their numbers instead of sending an SMS. For example, one of our users, Farm Radio International, used that method to collect opinions on agricultural policy from about 9,000 farmers in Tanzania who were more than willing to leave a missed call for their opinion, but may have been less likely to spend their time on an SMS.
Right. Okay. Just I think this is more of a clarifying question. Do people responding have to pay to send SMSs, or is that covered by the service provider or Teller Ovit?
So for Teller Ovit, as well as for other communication platforms like it, whoever sends the message typically pays the standard SMS rates. So the organizations pays for the messages that you send, and the people who respond pay for the messages that they send. That said, on many mobile networks, it's possible to make an arrangement with the mobile network for reverse billing, so that you pay for people who send SMS to you. Also, another option is to get a SMS short code from a local aggregator company, and often those short codes can be set up to be toll-free for respondents, but that is typically a lot more expensive to get started, certainly than an Android phone. Right.
Okay. Great. A follow-up question on surveys. If you run a survey poll, can it only cover yes and no questions, or can it have sort of multiple choice questions?
Yeah, you can have multiple choice questions. I think we support up to 20 different choices per question, maybe more, as well as open-ended questions.
Right.
We will display basic bar graphs of the overall responses, and then you can also dive into the raw data tables and export data into Excel or whatever other software you might use. It's also possible, if you have open-ended responses, to manually code them into categories.
Right. Okay. Great. We have, I guess, we'll take two more questions, and we'll have to wrap up. But one is around scalability. The other one is about data security. On scalability, how scalable is this system when it relies on a single Android phone as opposed to server software?
Yeah, so when you're using an Android phone to send and receive messages with Teller Ovit, typically an Android phone can send up to about 15 to 20, maybe 25 SMS messages per minute. So up to about 1,000 SMS messages per hour per Android phone.
That's a lot of messages. Yeah.
And so, so if you're sending more than a few thousand SMS messages per day, like around 5,000 or so, we recommend connecting multiple Android phones to Teller Ovit, and you can set up kind of automatic load balancing, where Teller Ovit will spread your messages between multiple Android phones potentially, or you can even set certain Android phones to send messages to certain contacts, like to stay on the same mobile network to get cheaper SMS prices. And for people who are sending many thousands of SMS messages per day, at that point you're definitely investing a lot in your messaging program, and at that point you might consider getting a SMS shortcode.
A shortcode, okay. All right, sounds good. On data security, storing phone numbers of thousands of people needs to be handled carefully. How does Teller Ovit tackle this issue of data security?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually fits in with a feature that we just launched last week to add several new account security features to Teller Ovit. So you can now set up two-factor authentication on your accounts, and you also have the ability to set up IP address restrictions on who can log in to your account.
Yeah.
And we also log a lot of security-related data, so you can audit what has been done in your account. Obviously we take data security very seriously, and Teller Ovit staff ourselves, we don't have access to see your messages or contacts. We just have access to see basically what allows us to support you and answer questions that you might have.
Great. Thank you very much for that. So if people have any other questions, Jesse invites you to email him at this email address, info@tellerovit.com, or if you have any other questions for us, myself or Tika, please email us at these addresses. Before we finish up, I just want to make an announcement for the next webinar, which will be in 2 weeks on October 15th at the same time. And in this next webinar, we will be inviting a developer from the digital data collection apps category, namely iForm Builder, which is one of the leading apps in this category. So please go to our site, impacttrackertech.kopernik.info to register. But thank you very much for everyone's participation, question, and patience. We've run a little bit over time, but I think that's a sign of very high interest and very good discussion. So thank you, Jesse, once again, and Tika for your presentations, and thank you everyone for your time today.